future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, July 28th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. A lot has been going over the weekend, a lot of news. Let me get to my personal news here quickly. I was not part of the Illuminati gang ritual, the black eye, but I do have a black eye here. I was shot, you could see, in the eye by my son with this gun right here, the Nerf gun. And they have two different bullets for this gun. This one, very hard tip, gave me the black eye. I couldn't see for about a day. And this bullet with a soft tip. Anyway, be careful these don't shoot people in the eye or you get a big black eye like that. Again, not part of the Illuminati black eye gang ritual there. Shot in the eye, but I got most of my vision back. Hopefully I'll have it all back tomorrow. Let's get to big EU trade deal. They still haven't published the text of it. I was looking for the text. I had to piece together details from articles about it. I still haven't seen the text. We'll go over it with you, what I could get from it, out of it. Looks like it's in United States favor here, America's favor. We'll see. We'll see how it sorts out. We got a fact sheet from the White House. We can't really trust them now, can we? So we'll go over that today for you, as Trump is in Scotland still with Stalmer lying. And so we'll go over that. What else do we got? We got the Epstein Maxwell saga continues as look over there, distractions, over there, something other than let's talk about what went on there between Maxwell and all the files that the government has. Let's talk about everything but that, as Ghislaine Maxwell files in with the Supreme Court for an appeal on her conviction. We'll cover all that. The Trump administration's claiming victory in all of the, and remember on Friday when it was really kicking off, Thailand, Cambodia war essentially, and I said somehow, some way we're going to stick our nose in, and we did. And of course we claim here, America, United States White House claims responsibility for peace truce between Cambodia and Thailand. I don't know how, but I knew that we would stick our big nose in there and claim victory somehow, some way. We'll go over that. Trump has reduced his 50-day ultimatum to Russia down to like 10 days or something. It's just ridiculous. More and more is coming out here now. Excuse the eye. It is still blurry a little bit in one eye here. Sometimes you can see, not good. But vision is coming back for me. Big report today from Aardvark Human Rights. The Aardvark Land Information Center for Human Rights in the Occupied Territories, quote, are genocide. And so we would expect sanctions on them now. We'll go over their big report. We'd expect sanctions, possible dronings on them. And this is coming from Aardvark. So, I mean, it's antiseptic, of course. Go over all of that, the fallouts. They do have a great map here, interactive. You can go take a look for yourself. We have the report, a summary, breaking down of what is genocide. Well, as we could continue denials out of Aardvark land, it's becoming undeniable fact here now on the world stage of Aardvark genocide against the Palestinians, as we've been reporting for tiredly long at this point. But here again, for the first time, two leading aardvark land human rights groups accuse aardvark land of genocide in Gaza. I don't know what took them so long, but they don't want their name on it, as no one should want their name on it except for Satan at this point, and Bibi Netanyahu and his administration. So all of that and much more on this Monday edition of Weaponized News to go over for you. What else do we got on this day in history? We got, going back to the year 1794, on July 28th, the French Revolution got out of hand. As we know, in 1794, French revolutionary figure Maximilien Robespierre and 22 other leaders of the, quote, the terror are guillotined to thunderous cheers in Paris. So one example of many how the blood fervor of the French Revolution turned on its own. The danger of revolution here now illustrated on this day in 1794. In 1847, Denmark phases out slavery, beginning with all newborn children of enslaved women. The parent generation is freed the following year of slavery by Denmark. In 1866, I did not know this until reading my This Day in History, the metric system becomes a legal measurement system in the United States in 1866. In 1915, the U.S. Marines occupy Haiti. In 1932, White Zombie, the first feature-length zombie film, was released in the United States. Tying in with White Zombie, the Bonus Army was evicted from Washington, D.C., as we reported on the Bonus Army, demanding their early bonus from World War I. Then U.S. President Herbert Hoover uses federal troops to evict the Bonus Army, World War I veterans and their families from their encampments. 4 were killed in the action. In 1943, we saw an end of coffee rationing here in the United States. In 1945, on this day, we saw a U.S. Army B-25 bomber crash into the 79th floor of the entire Empire State Building in New York, killing 14. Surprisingly enough, that building, the Empire State Building, did not collapse into its own footprint. I know, shocking. Also on that day, the United Nations Charter in 1945 was ratified by the U.S. Senate in a vote of 89-2. We the peoples of the United Nations. And so we do appreciate our Senate in America selling out our sovereignty to the United Nations there, in an act of patriotism, of course. In 1965, on this day, then President Lyndon Baines Johnson sent 50,000 more troops to Vietnam, bringing the official total to 125,000 U.S. troops in Vietnam in 1965. And of course, a lot of other troops that were not part of the official total, clandestine operations, mercenaries, special forces, and the like, all operating there in 1965 in Vietnam. In 2017, and I remember this explicitly because I stayed up to watch it because of my disdain for Obamacare. On this day in 2017, then U.S. Senator John McCain vote for, quote, skinny repeal of the Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obamacare, fails in a 51-49 vote as John McCain cast the deciding vote against. I remember staying up till like 1, 2 in the morning watching this vote because I was sure it was going to pass under Republican leadership. Well, turns out old John McCain gave us the middle finger one more time. But I'm sure he's laughing from his grave as the United States bombed Iran, his lifelong dream there last month, right? And what else did we have here? We had this bizarre 2 years ago in 2023. On this day, scientists genetically engineered female animals to reproduce without a male for the first time using fruit flies. And so isn't that a horrific scientific achievement there? In 1941, California Un-American Activities hearing on this day in our civil liberties. This day marked the first public hearing by California Joint Fact-Finding Committee, modeled after the House Un-American Activities Committee, to investigate alleged subversive activities in the state. Well, you could probably say they failed at this point in time here in California. And with that, we'll get to the segue for the news. Shout out to the chat over there on the Rumble. A few people tuning in here. Yeah, thank you guys for wishing me well on the bad eye. Be careful with these Nerf guns, man. All right, here's our segue, and then we'll get into all the news for you. This just came out today, this report. Attack drones will be deployed at select U.S. schools to stop school shooters in emergencies by Campus Guardian Angel, a company founded by U.S. military and defense contractors as we march toward our scientific dictatorship, technocracy, dystopic future. Here's the clip, and then we'll get to the news for you.
This is the future of school safety.
Our job is if somebody comes in a school with a gun, we respond in 5 seconds.
This is how it would work. Silent alarms in the school alert the company, then drones strategically placed on campus get deployed, and these drone pilots would navigate remotely from their headquarters in Austin, working in tandem with the school and police, inflicting non-lethal damage to the suspect, or dummy in this demo, with pepper rounds and direct impact.
All these markings, that's from the drone?
Yeah, so the little holes are from drones, and then these different marks here, these are from the pepper rounds bouncing off the guy's chest.
All of it in effort to buy time.
We want to make sure that person is as degraded as we can in a non-lethal manner so that they're unable to continue murdering children.
The program is not active in any schools yet, but the company says it expects to start training programs in 4 Texas schools this year. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just approved state funding to bring it to 3 of their school districts.
Do you want these drones in your school?
Absolutely.
John Lux, father and principal of this charter school in Miami, hopes to have the peace of mind.
As a father, you ask me, what am I willing to give up in my child's school for protection? Everything.
The fear is in the data. Since the Columbine High School shooting in 1999, nearly 400,000 students across the U.S. have experienced school gun violence of some kind. Former FBI agent Rob D'Amico says this drone program is promising for school shooting response, but the root of the crisis remains.
It's still not at the point where you're, quote, stopping school shootings. Stopping school shootings is preventing the gun to get into the school, which is proven problematic.
Until then, the members of this unlikely team of drone pilots plucked from around the country say they're ready.
When he told me, hey, we got this opportunity in Texas, it sounds crazy, but it may work, I said, I'm in.
Ready for a day they hope never comes.
I'd be happy to put this system in every school in America and never use it.
A radical response for unthinkable reality in today's America. Marissa Para, NBC.
Well, isn't that dystopic for you today here now? And then let's play another clip. This is from Department of Homeland Security. To every criminal, illegal alien in America, propaganda from the government.
They think I'm hiding in the shadows, but I am the shadows.
The government is invoking religion quite a bit there. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Proverbs 28:1. We'll get back to more of the government mixing religion in here later in the show. Here is Trump with Fabian Socialist Keir Starmer there in the UK, Aberdeen, Scotland, as Trump went golfing over the weekend. Trump sucks at golf, by the way, YouTube. Here is Trump claiming if he weren't around, you'd have 6 major wars going on right now. Trump, the consummate peacemaker who's bombed Syria, Somalia, Iraq, where else? Yemen, under his presidency so far. But the peacemaker Trump. Let's listen to this BS.
Yeah, a ceasefire is possible, but you have to get it. You have to end it. You're talking about with Israel's. You're talking about there, because we have many ceasefires going on. The whole world is. If I weren't around, you'd have right now 6 major wars going on. India would be fighting with Pakistan. You see what we just did yesterday with 2 nations that we're trading with. And during the trade, I said, I'm not going to do any trade deal unless you guys settle your differences. And we got it settled in 24 hours. I mean, they just announced it was settled, which was a tremendous thing. But Serbia, Kosovo is another one. We have many hotspots that were at war. I think a very big one was India and Pakistan, because you're talking about 2 nuclear nations. That was a very big one. And we get help from the UK. The Prime Minister's help. We have cases where we specifically need the help because somebody comes from here that you're aware of. And, when you come from a country, you can do things. And I call up the Prime Minister, and all of a sudden, he's able to do things. True also with other presidents and prime ministers. But we've done.
So he's essentially saying we'd be in World War III, hot World War III right now if he wasn't president. Really? Keir Starmer, we're not censoring anyone. This is a funny clip right here, as it's showing. Due to local news, we are temporarily our local laws. We're temporarily restricted access to this content on X. Yeah, they don't censor anybody there in the UK.
You discussed the importance of free speech today.
Well, free speech is very important. I don't know if you're referring to any place in particular. Perhaps they are, but
we've had free speech for a very, very long time here, so we're very proud about that.
Well, what's your advice on the small vote?
There are new powers here to censor your site, state-mandated powers.
To censor my site?
To censor your site and Twitter and Facebook. Truth. Is that okay?
Well, I don't think he's going to censor my site because I say only good things. Will you please uncensor my site?
Yeah, we're not censoring anyone. We've got some measures which are there to protect children, in particular from sites like suicide sites. We've had too many cases in the United Kingdom of young children taking their own lives, and when you look through their social media, they've been accessing sites which talk about suicide and encouraging, if you like, children down that road, and that is what we want to stop. It's nothing about censoring free speech.
But that treats all adults like children.
This country is the proud.
But that can treat all adults like children.
Free speech in this country has been for a very long time. We're very, very proud of it. We will protect it forever. But at the same time, I personally feel very strongly that we should protect our young teenagers, and that's what it usually is, from things like suicide sites. I don't see that as a free speech issue. I see that as a child protection issue.
We actually passed a bill in Congress, headed up by my wife, actually, which was to pull bad stuff out having to do with children, because it is a problem. But I cannot imagine him censoring Truth Social. This is more of a very political, and it's been a very big success.
It's not going to happen.
And I only say good things about him and his country, so if they censor me, you're making a mistake. I'm going to give my ambassador the job, make sure it's not censored.
glad Trump only cares if they're censoring his site. They're representing all of America. And of course, it's for the children. They're just such lying pieces of garbage. Okay, big win, big deal. That's what they say. I can't even find the text. Maybe they'll publish the text instead of some fact sheet from the White House. Here's the headlines on the EU trade deal that has been agreed to over the weekend. US-EU reach a deal on tariffs. EU-Trump, okay deal. Trump reaches trade deal with the EU. US-EU reach terms averting a tariff war. Both sides agree to 15% levies on goods. And again, what do we get? Propaganda from the White House. From the White House, let's just put it on the screen here. President Trump secured a huge, powerful trade deal between the U.S. and the EU. The EU will invest $600 billion in U.S., purchase $650 billion in American energy, open markets to U.S. There you go. Is that some kind of secret society handshake? Probably. Most likely there with van der Leyen, president of the EU. And so where is here's the fact sheet. They don't even post the actual, I searched for a couple minutes for it. I couldn't find the actual document that they signed, but here is the fact sheet from the White House. And so I ran it through, and they actually posted the wrong URL for it or something, edited it. So I ran it through the Gronk AI for analysis, and it kept on coming up with the wrong answer. And so I believe that they did something in editing and screwed up the link. Anyway, I did get to the bottom of it, the best I could find here for you now, again, without the actual document, because I couldn't find the actual deal anywhere. The overview goes on to say, President Trump announced a trade deal with the EU, marking a significant modernization of transatlantic alliance and providing Americans with unprecedented market access to the EU. The deal is expected to bolster America's economy and manufacturing capabilities, with the EU committing to, we already covered that, the dollar amounts allegedly. The United States and EU reached a cooperation agreement on reciprocal, fair, and balanced trade, enabling U.S. farmers, ranchers, fishermen, and manufacturers to increase exports, expand business opportunities, and reduce the goods trade deficit with the EU. The EU will remove significant tariffs, including the elimination of all EU tariffs on U.S. industrial goods exported to the EU, creating opportunities for American-made and American-grown goods in Europe. Commitments here now. Investment. The EU will invest $600 billion in the U.S. over President Trump's term, in addition to the over $100 billion dollars EU companies already invest annually. Energy. The EU will purchase $750 billion of U.S. energy exports through 2028, strengthening U.S. energy dominance and reducing European reliance on adversarial sources such as Russia. Trade or tariff barriers. The EU will work with the U.S. to eliminate tariffs in various sectors and provide meaningful quotas for other products, creating market access opportunities for U.S. goods exports. Non-tariff barriers. The EU will address U.S. concerns related to burdensome requirements for U.S. exporters, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, including efforts to eliminate red tape for U.S. industrial and agricultural exports, streamlining sanitary certificates for U.S. pork and dairy products, rules of origin. Strong rules will ensure benefits flow directly to the U.S. and EU and not third countries. Digital trade, the EU confirms it will not adopt or maintain network usage fees, and both parties will maintain zero customs duties on electronic transmissions. Economic security, both sides will strengthen economic security alignment, addressing non-market policies of third parties, and cooperate on investment reviews, export controls, and duty evasion. Commercial deals, major agreements across key sectors like energy and semiconductors will expand between the United States and the EU. Military equipment, the EU agreed to purchase significant amounts of U.S. military equipment. That's what we really need here, right? Top 10 critical points of U.S.-EU trade deal, lopsided and unbalanced in favor of the U.S. The agreement is criticized as asymmetric, with the EU facing 15% tariffs on most exports to the U.S. while granting zero tariffs on certain U.S. goods like aircraft, chemicals, and agricultural products, effectively prioritizing American interests over European interests. Capitulation to Trump's threats. European leaders are accused of submitting to Trump's tariff threats, initially 30%, resulting in a deal seen as a humiliation or imperiled tribute, highlighting the EU's weakened negotiating position and reactive stance. Higher costs for EU industries, German industries, and auto federations warn that the 15% tariffs will add billions in annual costs, reducing competitiveness and sending a fatal signal to transatlantic economies, with sectors like autos, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors hit the hardest. Increased price for U.S. consumers. The 15% tariffs act as an import tax, likely raising costs for American households and businesses on EU goods, contradicting claims of benefits and potentially fueling inflation without closing the trade gap. Forced EU commitments as a tribute. The EU pledges of $600 billion in U.S. investments and $675 billion in energy purchases are viewed as one-sided concessions that benefit U.S. energy firms with windfall profits while overburdening Europe with overpriced natural gas. Persistent high tariffs on key sectors. Exemptions keep 50% tariffs on EU steel, aluminum, and copper, with potential for even higher duties up to 200% in the future, undermining supply chains and ignoring EU calls for reciprocity. Rushed and non-binding nature, described as a framework rather than a legally binding agreement. Its critics, it's being criticized for being hastily negotiated with minimal EU institutional input, potentially short-lived and unenforceable, leading to uncertainty. Again, I can't even find any document signed. This is all just smoke in the air as far as I'm concerned. Harm to EU unity and competitiveness. The deal exposes internal EU discord, with countries like France slamming it as submission, and it risks weakening Europe's global position by prioritizing short-term avoidance of a trade war over long-term strategy. Negative impact on small business. U.S. small businesses may face higher costs from tariffs, potentially leading to layoffs or shutdowns as cheaper EU imports are replaced by more expensive domestic alternatives, while EU firms relocate production to the United States. Inflation and broader economic risk. Critics argue it won't reduce the U.S. trade deficit, but will drive up prices across the board with no clear benefits for consumers or workers, and could strain transatlantic ties long-term despite avoiding immediate escalation. And so there is a breakdown from the US-EU massive trade deal, which again, we don't even have the actual text of the trade deal here. Somebody send it to me if you got it. I would like to read it. So that's all we got on that front. A lot of hype, indeed. A lot of propaganda, indeed. There from Trump and the EU. Last headline about that, and we'll move on. Oh, we still have more. Sorry, there was a lot. They're hyping the hell out of it, like they hype everything, and nobody even seems to ask any questions. Like, where's the actual document of the trade deal? And like, is the EU going to take our contaminated agriculture here with all these pesticides, diquat, glyphosate, and the like, all the rest of them, as we cover here on Weaponized News, all the toxic pesticides polluting the food supply here in America? How is that going to comport with EU regulations on their food supply? I haven't seen that mentioned anywhere here. We'll have to circle back, as Raggedy Ann made the saying famous, and see how agriculture is going to sort out with EU regulations on their food supply and our toxic ingredients in it. I thought this was funny. Out of the Irish Star, they caught a clip of Trump, or an image of Trump balding here very well, as he has the famous squirrel comb over going on there, but you can see Trump's hair is receding there. And so we wouldn't miss a chance to take a shot at our emboldened leader. And he should win the Nobel Peace Prize, right? He's claimed that he's the author of ending 6 conflicts here around the world. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. We just don't know. If we trust the plan, then we'll have world peace here. Here's Trump's armored golf cart there in Scotland. And I saw clips too. There's one funny clip. I didn't even save it to play for the show. I don't know if it's true or not, but it looks like the caddy pulls up, right, and then throws the ball out. Like they spotted him that shot. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares about Trump's golf game? But apparently he's very sensitive about his golf game. So don't miss a chance to bash Trump over his golf game. With that, moving on to the Trump administration is taking action to protect children. They love to play the children card. This from the Department of Homeland Security, unconstitutional agency out of the executive branch, established after 9/11, should be abolished by all rights, but yet somehow they march on with their fraud here. In just 6 months, ICE arrested 214 illegal alien child sex offenders in the Houston area. Well, good for them if all of this is true. And get out the wood chipper, like I say. You know what I mean? If it's 100% proved true and they really did these crimes against the children, get out the capital punishment. And we don't need to, of course, they need a fair trial. But again, if they're found guilty, all of these characters, of course, by a jury trial of their peers, they deserve 100% due process. But if they're found guilty in all of the due process ways and means of the U.S. government, then by all means, capital punishment for them. It seems like there's a lot more going on. ICE arrests over 200 illegal alien child sex offenders in the Houston area in the past 6 months. What's it called? I want to say Operation Summer something. They keep coming out with this stuff. But still falling way short as far as I'm concerned in this matter. Here's the post from Department of Homeland Security. And yeah, it's good. They got 214 allegedly. Seems like there's way more than this going on. Ghislaine Maxwell asked Supreme Court to overturn her Epstein sex trafficking conviction. And so what is to come of this after meeting 2 days last week with the Trump Justice Department? What is to happen with this? Here's the actual case. I looked it up for you. Ghislaine Maxwell, aka sealed defendant 1 versus United States of America. There, everybody can look up that case number and go see the actual case that she is taking to the Supreme Court for appeal here now. Here is the case, and again, on Weaponized News Substack, we'll be posting the link so you can do further research if you're interested here, which has seemed to grip the nation's attention, the ongoing Epstein saga with Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly locked up in federal prison for her role in the child sex trafficking scandal. But going back to her plea with for appeal to the Supreme Court to be having her case dismissed, essentially, and her conviction overturned. Top key points here. Top 10 key points. The MPA was explicitly limited to the Southern District of Florida and did not bind other districts, such as the Southern District of New York, where Maxwell was prosecuted. The term the United States in the NPA refers contextually to the Florida USAO, as evidenced by the agreement's references to the local U.S. Attorney's authority and signatures from Florida officials only. The co-conspirators clause extends the same district-specific protections as those for Epstein, not nationwide immunity. DOJ policy requires explicit approval to bind other districts to MPAs, and no such approval was sought or granted for Epstein's agreement. Interpreting the MPA as globally binding would lead to absurd results, as it would have immunized Epstein and others from prosecution elsewhere, contradictory to the party's intent and Epstein's later New York indictment. There is no evidence that the MPA's party intended to benefit Maxwell, who was not named in the agreement and whose full role in Epstein's crimes was unknown at the time. Any circuit split on interpreting the United States in the plea agreement is limited and not outcome determinative here, as the MPA scope is governed by its specific language and context. The case is an unsuitable vehicle for Supreme Court review because it involves a fact-specific contract interpretation with unanimous lower court agreement on the outcome. And so, I don't know, according to this analysis by the AI, it's a nothing burger. But again, she has filed her petition for appeal here with the Supreme Court. That is Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein saga, looking for some relief from her criminal conviction. Ghislaine Maxwell has reportedly provided the DOJ with over 100 names linked to Jeffrey Epstein during the 2 days meetings last week, according to Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche. So all of that is going on here in the background. Jeffrey Epstein claimed he introduced Donald Trump to Melania Trump and even bragged that their first encounter happened abroad on his private jet, according to author Michael Wolff in a 2017 conversation. Let's watch this short clip. Trump's all up in it, but he wants to deny that anything ever happened there.
Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania to Donald Trump.
Trump was a frequent passenger on Epstein's plane, known as the Lolita Express. And Epstein told author Michael Wolff the first time he slept with Melania was on my plane.
In a 2002 interview with New York Magazine, Trump showered praise on Epstein, calling him a, quote, terrific guy, and saying, it is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
Was Melania a high-end escort under the Epstein Maxwell regime, somehow tied into it as part of the Maxwell fashion empire there. Flashback: Epstein victim Virginia Guthrie, now deceased, described Ghislaine Maxwell as worse than Epstein. She was vicious. She was evil. I know that woman. Let's watch this clip.
She is a monster. She's worse than Epstein. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious, she was evil, and she's a woman.
Her lawyers have said Ghislaine Maxwell is not a Jeffrey Epstein, that she has been a victim of media spin.
They're doing their job, but I know that woman. I've known her really well. Put it this way. Epstein was Pinocchio, and she was Geppetto. She was the guy controlling
the strings.
Jeffrey. Yep, she was pulling the strings. She had his money. He had her contacts, but Ghislaine was much more conniving and smart.
What do they say here in the comments? Only the good die young, the innocent, that is. Well, we better get right there. Gunther, we better get right with God, right? Jeez. Quite horrific there. Continuing here, more Epstein saga news. J.D. Vance on Epstein files. Donald Trump, I'm telling you, he's got nothing to hide. I'm telling you, look over there. Look over there. Let's hear from the Vice President, Mr. Technocracy, J.D. Vance.
I guess I'm going to be that person. There are some protesters outside accusing the GOP of protecting pedophiles, and we're wondering what you think are the reasons the U.S. government should shield the client list of Epstein from the public, and what you have to say about any relevance to that here today.
Well, let me say just a couple of things. First of all, the president has been very clear. We're not shielding anything. The president has directed the attorney general to release all credible information and, frankly, to go and find additional credible information related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's been incredibly transparent about that stuff, but some of that stuff takes time. You've got to assemble that stuff. You've got to compile that stuff. You've got to redact some victims' names so that you protect the victims. But the president has been very clear. He wants full transparency. He's asked that from the attorney general, and I know, because I talk to her all the time, the attorney general is hard at work on that issue right now. But I think I got to make an observation that there's an interesting thing about this case that the American media seems to totally ignore. For 4 years, under Joe Biden's Department of Justice, the media didn't give a damn about the Epstein files or about the Epstein case. For literally 20 years, the story about this scumbag, and he is a scumbag pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, he's dead now, but for 20 years, you had Obama and George W. Bush's Department of Justice go easy on this guy. They didn't fully investigate the case. They didn't show any curiosity about the case. And now Donald J. Trump is asking his Department of Justice to show full transparency. And somehow that's a criticism of Donald J. Trump and not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. If you want to criticize the people who aren't showing full transparency, you ought to go after the administrations that went easy.
He's literally doing it. Look over there. It's just like, come on, man. Come on, man. Look over there. And all that. Okay, let's be critical of Obama and Bush. All that's going to amount to nothing. You're in power now, bud. Look over there. He's literally doing it. Damn, man. Trump on the breach between him and Epstein. Here's the explain it away. It's old news. Nobody cares about it. Look over there. Look over there.
Would have had something, they would have used it. Yeah.
People keep writing stories about the time you flew him out of Mar-a-Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach to begin?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein.
It's easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time explaining it. So, come on, man.
I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that work for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
Chloe says, some dim came out and said Trump is clean. He's been trying to find shit on him for years, and there's nothing there. Well, he's acting very suspicious about this whole thing, that's for sure. Trump calls it a privilege to visit Epstein's island, but claims he never went. Of course. What do we got? I think we're almost at halftime here. Over the weekend, Dan Bongino, the assistant deputy director of the FBI, he put out this post. Arrest the bad guys then, Dan. He knows where all the bodies are buried, but keeps crying here. He says, during my tenure here as deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly replied to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is our priority for us. But what I have learned is the course of our properly predicted and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth, not my truth or your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her, respectively, Dan. And remember, they put out the fake Epstein jail footage, edited, and just keep making up stories. So we do trust full transparency from Dan Bongino. You are empowered as the deputy director of the FBI. Go arrest the bad guys. He won't. He's part of it, you see, as are all federal government at this time. Go arrest the bad guys. They won't do it. But it's got him shocked to his core. Let me tell you, the good guys are in charge and trust the plan. Blah, blah, blah. We know the BS routine. Go arrest the bad guys and shut up, Dan Bongino. Instead of crying on social media that you're shocked down to your core. We're all shocked. We know the entire government, federal government, and all government is a crime syndicate running a protection extortion racket against the American people and abusing all of us, including children, along the way for their own enrichment. And so, still waiting, the skeleton at the keyboard meme for someone in the federal government of some significance to get in trouble for something, and it's still not happening as the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, is shocked to his core. Honestly. It's a sick joke at this point. They're mocking us, running humiliation rituals, psyops on us daily here now. And it's not getting any better. It's only getting more embarrassing. And what do you even say at this point? They're all lying pieces of trash. Another one here, Bobby Kennedy Jr. at the HHS. Can we even report this? I don't know. This is from his official Secretary of Health and Human Services account. I think we should be able to report this without being flagged by YouTube. Let's go over the report. He says here now, let me blow it up here a little bit bigger for you. He says the 1986 Miracle Act gave miracle makers immunity against lawsuits by children who suffered miracle injuries. The statute and numerous subsequent court decisions recognizing that miracles, like all medicines, are, in the words of the American Academy of Pediatrics case, unavoidably unsafe, and that a percentage of miracle children will suffer injuries or death. Congress therefore simultaneously created the Miracle Injury Compensation Program, VICP, which obligated HHS to compensate injured children. In the words of then Labor and Public Welfare Committee Chairman Senator Edward Kennedy, when children are the victims of an appropriate and rational national policy, a compensation government will assist them in their hour of need. Under the VICP, miracle victims can petition for compensation to the so-called miracle court, which pays out awards from a trust fund endowed by a 75-cent surcharge on every miracle. Congress intended the injured children to be compensated quickly and fairly for injuries either presumed or proven to be causally connected to miracles, with doubts about causation resolved in favor of the victim. To date, the Miracle Court has paid out $5.4 billion to 12,000 petitioners, but the VICP no longer functions to achieve its congressional intent. Instead, the VICP has devolved into a morass of inefficiency, favoritism, and outright corruption, as government lawyers and the special masters who serve the Miracle Court judges prioritize the solvency of the HHS trust fund over the duty to compensate victims. The structure itself hobbles claimants. The defendant is HHS, not the miracle makers. The claimants are therefore facing the monumental power and bottomless pockets of the U.S. government, represented by the Department of Justice. Furthermore, most of the special masters come from government, legal, or political posts, and typically display an extreme bias that favors the government side. There is no discovery, and the rules of evidence do not apply. The government lawyers do not allow children's attorneys access to the Miracle Safety Data Link and taxpayer-funded CDC surveillance system that houses the best data on miracle injuries. Attorney compensation is in the hands of notoriously biased special masters and often hostile government attorneys who can leverage this power to turn petitioner attorneys against their clients' interests. The VICP routinely misses meticulously cases outright or drags them out for years. Instead of quickly and fairly awarding compensation, special masters dismiss over half of the cases. Most of those that proceed typically take 5+ years to resolve, with many languishing for more than 10 years as parents struggle to care for children suffering with extreme disabilities. Petitioners' attorneys complain that the special masters make punitive downward adjustments to attorneys' fees and medical expert fees to punish effective advocacy. Expert witnesses for injured children complain that they suffer intimidation and even threats that they will lose professional status or NIH funding if they testify for injured children. The government pays its own medical expert witnesses promptly while simultaneously slow-walking payments for petitioners' experts, sometimes for years. The VICP is broken. I intend to fix it. I will not allow the VICP to continue to ignore its mandate and fails its mission of quickly and fairly compensating miracle injured individuals. I'm grateful to be working with Attorney General Pam Bondi and HHS staff to fix VISP. Together, we will steer the miracle court back to its original congressional intent. And we're selling bridges there in Gaza for you to buy on the cheap, if you believe this. But hey, put it out there, and so we'll give them credit for that. But yeah, Weaponized News has been reporting on this for years, as many others have here now, trying to advocate for the miracle injured and essentially being banned off the internet for our work in this, all with zero pay. Zero. They're complaining about slow pay. Try zero pay, trying to warn the public and giving public service announcements about this insidious action by the miracle manufacturers and the U.S. government. Yeah. So what do you even say? Get right with God, especially these assholes. It's quite horrific indeed. Quite horrific indeed. But he did lay it out there exactly what is going on here. Will we see any remedy? I have my doubts. Call me skeptical. He did. Bobby Kennedy Jr. did go on with Charlie Kirk, both aardvark lovers, might I add. I won't play this clip, but he did go on to talk about this said post here. And so the link to this will be in the description, again, on Weaponized News Substack in the sources if you want to, or just go to Charlie Kirk on the X and you can see Bobby Kennedy Jr. breaking it down there, breaking it down, the injustice that we face here in America. Quite horrific indeed. And I did see some posts. One of these, I lose track of them. I think it was the same aforementioned American Academy of Pediatrics. Maybe I'm wrong. One of these joker outfits, the medical experts, is lobbying now to get rid of all exemptions across the board because, of course, for your own good. So that's out there. Okay, let's take the live commercial break. And we'll be back with the second half of the show here. The geopolitical news of the day. The genocide continues, and it's quite horrific indeed. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself some stickers over there. Help support the cause of independent reporting and analysis that we're bringing you here 5 days a week at Weaponized News. We have the holograph sticker, of course, the white background sticker, and the clear sticker there. You can see it. We'll send you new ones, of course. These are samples, kind of beat up. I did find a new holograph sticker. Go to weaponizednews.com. We take donations. You can subscribe, be a paid subscriber on our Substack, as well as we did get another paid subscriber. Thank you very much for that. Over the weekend, we do appreciate it. Shout out to the Substack audience. We're growing there by leaps and bounds. Seems the only platform on the interwebs at this time where we're allowed to grow is Substack for some odd reason. Shout out to everybody sharing Weaponized News content on the Substack, and shout out to all of the new subscribers and followers on the Substack. Go to weaponizednews.com, get some stickers there today and help out our efforts. We also take Bitcoin donations. The Bitcoin wallet link is it's actually just the address is in the description below this video. And now let's go to our sponsor, and we're back with the second half of the show here for you.
Running a small business feeling overwhelmed by numbers and paperwork? Abazaba Enterprises has your back. Our expert business solutions include accounting, QuickBooks support, payroll, taxes, and top-notch consulting. Let us handle the details so you can focus on growing your business. Business Solutions Accounting, QuickBooks, Consulting, Payroll, Taxes. Call 559-577-9250. Call Abazaba Enterprises today at 559-577-9250 for stress-free solutions.
And we're back. Welcome back to this July 28th, 2025 Monday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you for joining us. What is apparently we're the peacemakers, according to Trump. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. He didn't say that, but he said that he stopped 6 global conflicts. Little Marco says Trump is losing patience on Russia-Ukraine peace talks. Let's hear from Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio in these rigged up interviews with Laura Trump on the War Channel, Fox News.
Where do you think Putin is on this? Do you think this is an effective strategy, and what do you expect to see happen?
First of all, I think everybody should be very happy that the American president, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is focused on peace. There's nothing he wants more than to be a part of peace agreements, stopping wars, preventing wars, ending wars. It's not his war. He didn't start this war. It didn't happen. It never would have happened had he been president, but it did. He inherits it, and he's done everything possible to bring it to an end. I think he's growing increasingly frustrated.
They make the claim, they have no evidence of that, but they just spin the lie. Oh, if he was president, none of this would have ever happened. Really? None of this stuff's even our business. But somehow we stick our nose in it and make it our business. Here's little Marco praising. The United States applauds the ceasefire declaration between Cambodia and Thailand. Another war is over, thanks to the direct involvement of President Trump. Didn't I say that I said that last week. I said, none of our business what goes on the Cambodian-Thai border, but somehow we're going to stick our nose in it, and we did, and now we claim that we're the great peacemakers there. It's just so freaking ridiculous. Here's Trump. Just spoke to the acting prime minister of Thailand and the prime minister of Cambodia. I'm pleased to announce that after the involvement of President Trump, both countries have reached a ceasefire and peace. I'm proud to be the president of peace. Again, we've bombed unconstitutionally, illegally. We bombed Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Syria, Iran, to name a few here now, in the first 6 months of the second Trump administration, even though that's not widely reported out there. So the great peace president. There's reports that I guess it's the rednecks that didn't get the memo. They're still shooting at each other over there on the Thai-Cambodian border. So maybe the rednecks in the army over there didn't get the message, as we do see is the case. It takes a while for them to get the message, to get the memo to stop shooting at each other. Hopefully they'll get the memo and stop shooting at each other there in the war between Cambodia and Thailand that has broken out over the last week. By all accounts, the governments are calling it off. But again, the rednecks out there in the field are not getting the memo. Let's hear now from, who's this? This is, well, let's hear from the governments make the announcement of a ceasefire that takes effect at midnight their time.
Both Cambodia and Thailand reached a common understanding as follows. 1. An immediate and unconditional ceasefire with effect from 24 hours local time, midnight, on 28th July 2024.
Well, they might want to get their rednecks in the field the memo that are still shooting at each other. Okay, that's good news. Hopefully they stop shooting at each other. 10 to 12 days, Trump shortens deadline for Ukraine-Russia peace deal. Really? Yeah. Here's the clip of it. But remember, if Trump would have won 2020, there would have been no unprovoked Russia invasion of Ukraine. And if he was elected this time around, he would have the war over in 24 hours. That didn't happen.
Earlier you said that you were going to change the deadline from 50 days.
Yeah,
What is your new deadline?
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Former president of Russia, Medvedev, he says this is a step toward war. Let's put this post up in reply to Trump's ultimatum on the peace deals there. Trump's playing the ultimatum game with Russia, 50 days or 10. He should remember two things. Russia isn't aardvark land or even Iran. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road. Yeah, Russia isn't quite aardvark land or Iran now, are they? They're not Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Syria. China's pretty pissed off here. Ukraine must immediately correct its mistake. China Foreign Minister talking about after Zelensky called for sanctioning China for supplying electronic components to Russia.
乌方立即纠正错误，消除负面影响。中方将坚决维护中国企业的正当。
So Zelensky's pissing everybody off. He's doing a good job. There are protests there now in Ukraine as he's gotten rid of the anti-corruption task force there. Okay, on to at the UN here. I guess we're going to have to sanction and potentially go to war with France. At the UN, France will fully recognize the state of Palestine in September, according to Foreign Minister of France at the UN. Here's the clip.
And we are indifferent to the attacks from those who want to dissuade us from doing that. France is ready to fully recognize the state of Palestine and will do so in the month of September. This is to build a new alliance between the people in the region based on justice, mutual recognition, and shared humanity. And to close the terrible chapter on war and to open a long-awaited chapter on peace.
Yeah, I don't know. What are we going to do to France and Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia won't normalize with aardvark land yet. Let's see here.
إذا فيما يتعلق بالسؤال الأول حول التطبيع، أعتقد أننا كنا واضحين للغاية في السنة الماضية والأشهر الماضية، لا سيما بيان ولي العهد سمو ولي العهد حول تطبيع المملكة العربية السعودية مع إسرائيل لا يمكن أن يحصل إلا عبر إرساء دولة فلسطينية، وهذا الموقف لا يزال ثابتا ونفسه، وهو مبني على قناعة قوية أنه فقط عبر إرساء دولة فلسطينية وعبر معالجة أو تلبية حق تقرير المصير الفلسطيني وحده بإمكانه أن يكون لدينا سلام وإدماج.
Trump on Gaza will be helping with food. We've seen how their help has gone so far. Go for food aid and get shot.
Where the United States will be helping with the food. You know, we have a lot of access to food. We got a lot of food ourselves, and we're going to bring it over there. We're also going to make sure that they don't have barriers stopping people. You know, you've seen the areas where they actually have food, and the people are screaming for the food, and they're 35, 40 yards away, and they won't let them because they have lines that are set up. And whether they're set up by Hamas or whoever, but they're very strict lines, so we have to get rid of those lines. but we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. So we're going to be even more involved. We did some airlifts before, some airdrops, and the people are.
Yeah, remember they're dropping them on their head. But see, he admits the real starvation going on there. Here's a shadow president, Bibi, saying there is no starvation. We must be hallucinating it all, I guess. And of course, it's Hamas blocking the food aid in there and not aardvarks.
No starvation in Gaza, no policy of starvation in Gaza. And I assure you that we have a commitment to achieve our war goals. We'll continue to fight till we achieve the release of our hostages and the destruction of Hamas's military and governing capabilities. They shall be there no more. We shall not have any more of these massacres. We shall not have any more of these monstrosities. We stand for human freedom and human life, and that is not commensurate with Hamas or with Iran, other Iranian proxies. We fought this battle together. We shall win it together.
No starvation going on there. Dozens of congressmen expressed support for aardvark sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. You just can't even make this up. This is older news via Simon. By the way, shout out to Simon on the interwebs there, former co-host of Weaponized News. He sent me this. It's like a week old, but worth reporting here. 30 senators and congressmen participated in a conference in support of Samaria with the participation of Councilman Yazzie Dagan, the largest conference in Washington for Judea and Samaria ever. Yeah. And so that happened last week, very underreported. But here are your traitors right here in your U.S. federal government. There. Religious fanatics, opportunists, war profiteers, whatever the case may be, quite evil, as the Trump administration mandates federal agencies protect religious expression at work per a new memo, allowing workers to display Christian crucifix and aardvark munzas. Here is said memo. I didn't know they were oppressed. An employee may keep a Bible on her desk and may read it during breaks. Similarly, an employee may keep rosary beads or tefillin. That's that stupid black electric tape looking thing in the cube for their synagogue of Satan worship that our aardvark friends participate in. You could have a crucifix, a Bible verse, or a Star of David. A group of employees may form a prayer group and gather for prayer or study of scripture or holy books at the, I wonder if they can, or if the Talmud will proudly be displayed there. I'm sure it will. Not mentioned in the memo, of course. Here is Trump's spiritual leader, Paula White, spiritual advisor. Of course, purely satanic. Let's hear her talking with Bibi Netanyahu. These people are just so despicable, man.
Just so honored to be sitting up here with, I believe, God's chosen for everyone. Israel and me being here in this is very sacred to me. Yeah, it's very holy. It's intimately a part of who I am, not just somewhere that I'm going. I've been to almost 120, 30 countries, but Israel to me is home.
Well, they're losing favor. It's taking the Christians a while. But I do believe some are coming around to it. American pastor and radio host Chuck Baldwin slams Donald Trump for backing Aardvark's assault on Gaza, accusing him of betraying Christian values and aligning with the Zionist agenda. I don't know where we heard this before. Let's hear the clip.
I've not yet heard you once say anything about the people that are being killed in Gaza. People by the thousands are leaving evangelical churches. More than any time in our nation's history, they are sick and tired of their evangelical pastors and churches supporting genocide against the Palestinian people. They're sick of it. Their support for the bloodshed and the Holocaust, the genocide, the ethnic cleansing in Palestine by the Israelis is driving men of conscience away from the evangelical churches. And they're saying to themselves, if that's Christianity, I don't want anything to do with it.
No shit. Took them long enough. Of course, what, like 2 weeks ago, the Aardvarks bombed the Catholic Church here. Here's our Lord and Savior. Shadow President says, Bibby, he says, Aardvark land is now portrayed as the enemy of Christians. Says that the Aardvark land protects holy sites.
Israel is now portrayed as the enemy of Christians. And the enemies of Christians are portrayed as the friends of the United States. Iran, a friend of the United States, an innocent victim. The Muslim Brotherhood, who chant death to America alongside Iran, friends of America. Hamas, these monsters who burned babies, raped our women, beheaded our men, and chant death to America, friends of America. Israel has a thriving Christian community, the only thriving Christian community in the broad radius of the Middle East, where Christians are not tolerated, they're cherished. You can light Christmas trees in Nazareth. But in Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, when Israel left and the Palestinian Authority came in, the Christian majority shrank from 80% to under 20% because there was no more Israel to protect them. We cherish our Christian friends. We protect the Christian holy sites, not only the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but in the Galilee, not only in Nazareth, but in the
They bombed that Catholic Church. The settlers are burning down Christian holy sites, but Aardvark land protects them. Well, we appreciate your efforts there, Bibby. Here is, take a listen to this. Melanie Phillips is asked in Jerusalem if it's better for Aardvark land's agenda that Goyim be irreligious. Let's hear what she had to say about that. She says it's better they be Christians, but the kind of Christians that love us. These people are real bad, man, real bad.
Concerning being religious or coming back to being civilized, there are two different agendas. One of Rav Ori Sherki, who sit with us today, that says that the Goyim should be Bnei Noach. They shouldn't be like religious Christians. And the second is Yoram Chazonis or Dennis Prager's or maybe other conservative intellectuals who say to them, be good Christians. So which agenda do you think is the best?
Be good Christians. But please, be good Christians of the kind of Christian that love us. Because it's possible. I mean, do I have to say the obvious? Jesus was a Jew. it does come as a bit of a shock to some Christian audiences that I try that on. But there's no reason why you can't love the Jewish people and be a Christian. There are millions of Christians in America. I don't know why I'm pointing at you, but anyway, there are millions of Christians in America who love the Jews. And I know there are plenty of American Jews who say, no, they don't really, because they all want to convert us at the end of days, to which I say, well, I'll take my chances on that when I meet them at the end of days. And I mean, it's like ludicrous. So, but if they're not from Christians, then they're not going to be Christians. And if they're not going to be Christians, what are they going to be? They're going to be nothing. And if they're going to be nothing, then the society is nothing, I'm afraid. So, yes, I want them to be from Christians. I want them to be observant Christians. But there's, in my view, no reason why an observant Christian cannot love the Jewish people as the parent religion of their religion. There's no reason at all. It's a deformation, or it's a big deformation. But I mean, it's you know, it's perfectly possible to be an observant Christian and not want Jews to be destroyed, to actually love them and to revere them as the source of your own religion. I think, I'm sorry about that if I've
She won't be converted, I guess, till the end of days. That's what she says. Here are the Aardvark land settlers. We've played her before, featured in Ultra Zionist. Delana Weiss, known as the godmother of the settlement movement. Here, the Arabs will move. Don't give them food, she says. But of course, they're not starving anyone, are they? Some videos, back to this again, some of these videos I've noticed don't want to get played. Anyway, well, this one's allowed to be played. Here's the current actions being taken there in Aardvark land are not extreme enough for Aardvark minister Ben-Gvir. He accuses Netanyahu of moral bankruptcy for allowing some aid into Gaza amid unprecedented famine. The only thing to send into Gaza is shells, he says.
פשיטת רגל מוסרית שבזמן שחטופים שלנו נמצאים בעזה, ראש ממשלתנו מעביר סיוע הומניטרי לעזה. אני חושב שבשלב הזה מה שהיה צריך להעביר לעזה זה דבר אחד. פצצות, לפוצץ, לכבוש, לעודד הגירה ולנצח את המלחמה.
They act like they care about the hostages still. Here is Gaza, filmed this month. I don't have the exact day, and they literally leveled the place. No audio on this clip, but you can see here from drone footage, the place is pretty damn well leveled there, getting all those Hamas everywhere. And again, you can't kill an idea, which Hamas is, as was admitted by IDF former commanders. And so, again, the Greater Aardvark Land Project continues for the first time. And I want to give CNN credit here because it's being reported across your Mockingbird media. And CNN actually put links in the reports, whereas Reuters and a few others that I went to did not have links to find the actual story they're reporting on. So props to them for giving the correct link here. But CNN reports for the first time 2 leading Aardvark land human rights groups accuse Aardvark land of genocide in Gaza. A pair of leading Aardvark land human rights groups has accused Aardvark land of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, becoming the first such organization to make the claim. They need to be sanctioned and droned immediately. B'Tselem, however you pronounce that in language, will go directly to the report here. They made the claim. And then secondly, Physicians for Human Rights in Aardvark land, PHRI, announced it was joining the call on actions to stop the Gazan genocide. And here is said report in the title of this broadcast, Our Genocide. And again, we're calling here at Weaponized News for them to be sanctioned and droned immediately. Here is our genocide report, and it's 88 pages long. We'll get into the summary and the breakdown of it, but let's now hear from them. Let's watch this report about their report. Our genocide's happening now, and so antiseptic aardvarks, they're out of aardvark land, and so again, the call for sanctioning and droning will grow louder here now for their antiseptic behavior.
לג'נוסייד תמיד יהיה הסבר ונימוק. לרוב ההצדקה שלו תהיה צורך בהגנה עצמית. איזו תחושה ממשית של איום קיומי. המתקפה המחרידה של חמאס ב7 באוקטובר עוררה אצל רוב הישראלים בדיוק תחושה כזו.
לכל ג'נוסייד יש טריגר, ובמקרה של הג'נוסייד שלנו, הטריגר שהוביל לתמיכה של כל כך הרבה מהציבור הישראלי במהלכי הממשלה, זאת ההתקפה הנפשעת של חמאס נגד עוטף עזה ב7 באוקטובר. ההרג של כל כך הרבה אזרחים ישראלים, החטיפה של ילדים, של נשים, הטראומה נפלה על קר פורה מבחינת הממשלה הימנית קיצונית ביותר שאי פעם הייתה לנו בהיסטוריה של ישראל. ממשלה משיחית שמבחינתה זאת בכלל תקופה של נס. זאת פשוט הזדמנות מבחינתם. כדי לקדם אג'נדה שהם ניסו לקדם כבר שנים רבות.
מדע מוחלטת, תמחה את זכר עמלק.
אין עם פלסטיני. אין דבר כזה.
אנחנו נותנים לכם את האפשרות. לכו מכאן לארצות אחרות. ארץ ישראל שלנו.
אני עובד 21 שנים בארגון בצלם. משהו קרה אחרי 7 באוקטובר. זה נפתחה השערים של גיהנום.
לבחון את זה לעמלק.
מה שאנחנו רואים זה בעצם שילוב של פרקטיקות ג'נוסיידליות, כלומר הרג המוני והרעבה והרס התשתיות האזרחיות, וגם אפשר להוסיף הרס מוסדות תרבות, וגם מדיניות שלפחות מכוונת או מוצהרת של למעשה טיהור אתני. כל זה בשילוב עם הצהרות של הרבה מאוד בכירים ישראלים לאורך המלחמה, שאנחנו מכוונים להרס החברה העזתית כקבוצה.
מספר ההרוגים עלה על 57,000. זה כמעט קרוב ל3% מהאוכלוסייה של עזה. ההרג הפך להיות שגרת חיים. ואפילו השימוש בכל סוגי הנשק נגד האוכלוסייה האזרחית, כולל ההרעבה. ברגע שאתה רואה ילדים מתאספים בתור ארוך ונאבקים אחד עם השני בשביל לקבל טיפת מים או לקבל צלחת של אורז או עדשים, אתה רואה שהאנושות כאן היא איבדה את החוש האנושי האמיתי. אתה רואה, נגיד, בניין שלם שנהרס על משפחה, ואתה שומע קולות של אנשים מתחת להריסות. הם לא יכולים להוציא אותם. אך של עובדת שטח שלנו, עם אשתו ובת שלו, בת 9. עד עכשיו הגופות שלהם מתחת להריסות של הבניין. זה היום יום שלנו. לצערי, כן. זה היום יום שלנו. כבר 2
הג'נוסייד מתבצע עכשיו ברצועת עזה. אבל את ההחמרה באלימות של ישראל כלפי הפלסטינים אנחנו רואים בכל מקום. וברור לנו לגמרי שהג'נוסייד יכול בכל רגע להתפשט גם לגדה המערבית. אין שום גוף, שום מנגנון שפועל כרגע לעצור אותו. אנחנו מדברים מאז 7 אוקטובר ועד עכשיו כמעט 960 הרוגים פלסטינים, מתוכם 181 ילדים, 69 הפצצות מהאוויר על המחנות הפליטים בצפון הגדה. יותר מ-40,000 תושבים נזרקו מהבתים שלהם, ויום יום יש ביצוע של הריסות בתוך המחנות האלו. התקפות של המתנחלים על הקהילות הבדואיות ועל החקלאים הפלסטינים, שגרמה לעזיבתם של 29 קהילות פלסטיניות מהמקום מגוריהם. מה שקורה עכשיו בגדה המערבית זה פשוט זליגה של פרקטיקות מרצועת עזה. גם אם לא באותו היקף, העיקרון וההיגיון הוא זה. בתוך ישראל ההשתקה והרדיפה של פלסטינים, ולא רק של פלסטינים, מגיע לרמות חסרות תקדים. אנשים מפחדים לדבר. אנשים מפחדים אפילו להביע רגש או כאב על מה שקורה בעזה.
כל פלסטיני שמביא אפילו הזדהות עם הקורבנות בעזה, עם הילדים של עזה, הוא נעצר.
זאת לא הפעם הראשונה שהעולם עומד מנגד בזמן שמתבצע ג'נוסייד, ההיסטוריה המוכרת. אבל זאת כן הפעם הראשונה שאנשים לוקחים טלפונים ניידים ומשדרים בלייב תמונות של בניינים שהופצצו על ידי מטוסי חיל האוויר כשמשפחות שלמות נמצאות בתוכם. אנשים עומדים עם סירים רכים ומתחננים לקצת מזון, כיוון שישראל הפסיקה את הכניסה של כל הסיוע ההומניטרי לרצועת עזה. הדברים האלה ידועים למנהיגי העולם, מקבלים דיווחים ויודעים יפה מאוד מה ישראל עושה ברצועת עזה, אבל הם עדיין לא הצליחו להביא את עצמם למקום שבו הם יאמרו לממשלת ישראל, די.
אנחנו רואים יום יום תנועות של התנגדות ברחובות של כל הבירות בעולם נגד הג'נוסייד.
אנחנו בבצלם, ישראלים ופלסטינים שחיים פה, בין הירדן והים. אנחנו מאמינים בזכויות אדם, בחופש ובשוויון. אנחנו מאמינים שלכל מי שחי פה מגיע לחיות בביטחון.
מניעת ג'נוסייד היא לא רק חובה מוסרית, היא גם חובה משפטית. כלומר, המנהיגים שמשתפים פעולה עם מדיניות ישראל, הם בעצמם שותפים לפשע הזה.
קראנו לדוח הזה הג'נוסייד שלנו, our genocide, כי זה מה שזה. זהו ג'נוסייד בבני אדם שחיים פה, שמבוצע על ידי בני אדם שחיים פה. לאורך ההיסטוריה, רוב העמים שביצעו ג'נוסייד לא הבינו והכירו בזמן אמת את המשמעות של מה שהם עושים. וזה בדיוק מה שקורה עכשיו בישראל. כל זה רק מגביר את המחויבות שלנו להעיד על הדברים כמו שהם, ולקרוא באופן ברור לכל מי ששומע אותנו, לעשות הכל כדי לעצור את זה.
אנשים וממשלות צריכים לנקוט בכל הפעולות שעומדות לרשותם במסגרת החוק הבינלאומי, כדי לגרום לממשלת ישראל להפסיק את הג'נוסייד ברצועת עזה עכשיו.
So America sanctioned Albanese for her damning report. What about these guys? They deserve sanctions as well. Apologize for the muting at the beginning. I didn't realize I was muted, but it was all subtitles anyway, and they barely spoke any English there for you. Again, our genocide. Big old report about it here. Another big old report. Here's an interactive map they have of it, but here's video. Let's take a look at this video of the land grab.
Israel occupied the West Bank and the Gaza Strip in 1967. Ever since, it has chipped away at Palestinian space, annexing East Jerusalem, declaring military zones, building settlements, restricting movement, taking over farmland, isolating Gaza, building walls. Israel has fragmented the Palestinian land it occupied, using it for its own needs and controlling 5 million people denied their rights. Conquer and Divide, a special interactive project.
You can go there, take a look. Again, the links will be in the description on our Substack channel, Weaponized News Substack. But very detailed. I mean, they're tracking it, documenting it. Props to them. Here's the map. You can zero in all these different battles, occasions, crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, genocide going on there. They document a bunch of this stuff here, as you could see with the interactive map, going through Gaza, the West Bank, the whole area there of Palestine. The big report here is backhandedly 88 pages long for those interested in the numerology and symbology of all this, as many are. You can see here 88 pages long. The big report here. Let's go now to a summary for you. The report titled "Our Genocide" presents a comprehensive analysis arguing that Aardvark land has been committing genocide against the Palestinian people since October 2023, primarily in the Gaza Strip, but also extending to the West Bank and within Aardvark land itself. The document frames this as a deliberate, coordinated policy shift following the Hamas-led attack on October 7, 2023, exploiting a far-right government's ideology to intensify a long-standing apartheid regime rooted in demographic engineering, ethnic cleansing, and dehumanization dating back to 1948. The main thesis is that Aardvark land's actions meet the criteria for genocide under the UN Genocide Convention, involving acts such as killing members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions calculated to bring about human destruction, imposing measures to prevent births, and forcibly transferring children. These are evidenced through mass killings, direct or indirect, starvation, destruction of infrastructure, forced displacement, social and cultural annihilation, transformation of prisons into torture camps, assaults on refugee status, and widespread incitement to genocide. The report emphasizes that genocide is a process, not a single event, built on historical foundations of separation, impunity, and framing Palestinians as an existential threat. What is genocide? The report goes on to define genocide based on the 1948 UN Convention, historical precedents, and scholarly views, stressing intent to destroy a group in whole or part through coordinated acts. The Aardvark genocide against the Palestinian people breaks down acts across Gaza, the West Bank, and Aardvark land. Killing and serious harm in Gaza, over tens of thousands killed via airstrike, open fire policies, and denial of medical care, psychological trauma affecting the entire population. In the West Bank, airstrikes and cellular violence. Inside Aardvark land, neglect of Palestinian crime victims, destruction of living conditions, starvation in Gaza through blockade and destruction of food systems, assaults on water, electricity, healthcare, housing. Genocide is also mentioned. That's a murder by government. And economically, imposed hardships, similar but less intense in the West Bank. Forced displacement, 85% of Gaza under evacuation orders aimed for permanent depopulation. Ethnic cleansing in the West Bank via settlements, bureaucratic displacement inside Aardvark land, social and political and cultural destruction, anarchy, family breakdowns, educational shutdowns, 90% of schools damaged, journalists killed, over 160, I think it's over 200 now, and heritage site demolitions in Gaza, education and ritual restrictions in the West Bank, censorship inside aardvark land, prison systems turned into essentially torture camps, systemic abuse, 73 plus deaths since October 2023, including starvation and sexual violence, assault on refugee status, targeting UNRWA to erode Palestinian refugee identity, afflicting some 1.7 million in Gaza, incitement and dehumanization, officials' rhetoric calling the Palestinians human animals, and public polls supporting violence against civilians. Genocide as a process traces foundations from 1948 Nakba apartheid through mechanisms like separation and impunity to October 7th attacks as a trigger, enabling, quote, far-right government to implement expulsion plans. The report goes on to conclude, asserting the international inaction despite ICJ and ICC rulings risk normalizing genocidal norms globally, calls for urgent action, accountability, and regime change to prevent further harm, warning of dangers to all under aardvark rule. It's quite horrific there indeed. And they are indeed meeting the UN definition of genocide for all those apologists, shills, and complicit in the genocide out there on the interwebs that you see explain it away as not being genocide. It is indeed genocide there. And so what's to come of this human rights group out of aardvark land? It is very dangerous to speak out against the Netanyahu regime there. I don't doubt that at all. But what will be the repercussions, if any, from the U.S. government? Will they levy sanctions on this human rights outfit, the Aardvark Land Information Center for Human Rights in the Occupied Territories? That's what we're calling here at Weaponized News for. Hey, let's all be fair. They slammed Albanese as we went after her report exposing the war profiteering by American corporations, and so they should levy sanctions against. But then they would point the finger back at themselves and call themselves antiseptic, right? No, it's hard to get some consistency in a genocide, isn't it, here now? But it's all being very thoroughly documented, as we just saw there, and the evidence is overwhelming that indeed genocide is being carried out by the aardvark government there against the Palestinians in Gaza and moving to the West Bank. And if we don't watch it, as I continue to warn here, coming to a city near you for the scientific dictatorship, technocracy. Again, they're using it as a military laboratory to become more efficient in the execution and depopulation agenda here now. And that's why you should, by all means, speak out against it now while you still can, before sanctions are levied against you and drones are launched against you. With that, friends, again, go to Weaponized News Substack. The links to all of this will be there. Do your further investigations into it. It's quite horrific, and we continue to report here at Weaponized News on these crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, the genocide, and Greater Aardvark Land Real Estate Redevelopment Program signed off on by America, Donald Trump there. And always conveniently, he's baffled, and it's a mystery about who's doing this. It must be Hamas, right? It must be Hamas. Again, created by Aardvark Land Western Intelligence for such an occasion, because we do need a boogeyman out there, don't we? When we commit genocide against civilians. With that, let me go to the channels over here on the Odysee, Huffman, Highland, Gurr. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee, keeping the chat going. Echo Harp. One of you recommended Weaponized News on T-Lab. Well, thank you guys for recommending me around there. There's not many in the quote alternative media or just the media. They're calling it out how it is here. I believe T-Lab is one of them. And so thank you guys for referencing me and giving me a link over to come check out the show. We appreciate you guys tuning in there from Echo Harp. As we grind through it here, documenting it along the way here, quite horrific. As always, everybody do your own research. Speak out and take action. Peace, love, and freedom to you. Have a great rest of your Monday evening. Shout out to the chat on Rumble. As always, keeping it lively there. We saw Snarky, Chloe, Gunther, Carrie, a few others in there. Denver, thank you guys for tuning in and chiming in on the chat there, keeping it lively. We'll see you back here tomorrow for Tuesday edition of more Weaponized News. Again, go to our Substack, and in the sources section, the links to almost everything we talk about will be there for your further research, documentation, and sharing on the interwebs to expose the global crime syndicate known as all of these governments here now at this point in time. Truly disgusting, despicable individuals profiting off of human suffering around the world and claiming to be the heroes. With that, I will sign off here now for you. Give us a follow on the X for whatever it's worth there at Weaponized News. On all of your interweb directories at Weaponized News, you can find us there. And we'll see you back here tomorrow on Tuesday edition of Weaponized News.